Blessings and peace, everyone. Welcome to part two of how the narcissistic gang stalkers trick us, deceive us, dupe us into gaining access into our lives. On the previous video, I talked about the narcissist as a comparison to a flea or a tick. And so we dove into exactly what a tick is. And so, just as a review, a tick is a parasite that needs a host in order to survive. And so, when we think of narcissistic gang stalkers, they need a host in order to survive. They need supply, which is what you are. You are the supply. And they need you more than you need them. And that's one thing that they hate about themselves, how much they need people, how much they need others in order to feel alive, to feel like somebody special. And so you as the host, once the narcissistic gang stalker enters your life, eventually they start to disrupt your life. And so we compared that to how the tick, once it buries itself into so many layers of the skin, it starts to disrupt the normal blood flow by gorging off of the nutrients supplied by the host. The host begins to feel weak and thus far begins to double up on nutrients in order to regain the strength. And so when we compare that to you as supply and the narcissistic gang stalker, you begin to become weaker as they disrupt so many different levels and so many different layers of your life. And this causes you, in order to regain your strength and some sort of balance and equilibrium in the relationship, in order to get back to those glory days, those good old days, you as the supply, you start to work harder and harder to please them and to make the relationship work. And so, how do you do that? You do that by giving chances after chances, the benefit of the doubt, by believing, um, by doing anything to keep them propped up and to keep them happy so that you can get back to those good old days. But one thing that the narcissistic gang stalker will never tell you is that the relationship will never go back to the good old days. It will never be as good as it was from the beginning. You see, because the relationship with the narcissistic gang stalker, there's always three phases with everyone, whoever they encounter, whoever they establish a relationship with, whether it's family, co-workers, intimate relationships, marriages, significant others, whatever the case may be. There's only three stages because they can't hold that mask up for very long. As a matter of fact, they get tired of working hard in order to maintain the relationship. Once they feel like they've got you in their grasp, in their claws, then they feel that they've won. And so what do? They don't mind allowing the mask to slip, and they will not work as hard as they did before in order to keep the relationship going. And so the three stages are love bombing, devalue, discard. And it's rinse and repeat. Love bombing, devalue, discard. I forgot to add this in the previous video when it comes to the love bombing stage. The love bombing stage also includes lots of questions, almost like an interview. The narcissistic gang stalker wants to know everything there is about you, and they listen intently and they hang on your every word. And for some people, they've never had that before, to have someone to listen to them like that and to hang on their every word. Or during this part of the love bombing stage, you find that you have so much in common. Whatever you like to do, wherever you like to go, the narcissistic gang stalker seems to love it as well. You've never met someone that loves the same things that you love, and they know so much about it, and they're so interested in you. But don't be fooled. The interview is not an interview. Actually, it's an interrogation. And the narcissistic gang stalker is hanging on your every word because they're filing away everything that you're telling them, your weaknesses, your strengths, your traumas, whatever happened, your disappointments, people who've let you down. They can gauge if you have a great support system or not. If you're close to your family, they can gauge everything about you. And they store this information in order to destroy you later. So it's not an interview, it's not interest at all. They're not hanging on your every word. It's an interrogation. And that interrogation, you will find that they're able to bring up those files later in life when they're ready to discard you and destroy you. They're able to repeat everything you said verbatim. You see, narcissistic gang stalkers, they have a very good memory. They're good at pulling up old files and using it against you in a powerful way. So with this, as you're growing weaker as the host or the supply, instead of getting stronger, the relationship, everything about you is getting weaker. Instead of things getting better, they actually seem to be taking a turn for the worse. Everything seems to go downhill and go downhill very quickly. You take one step forward, but you're taking 10 steps back. Finally, as with the tick, the narcissistic gang stalker starts to drain you to the point where you become sicker and sicker. The narcissistic gang stalker, like the tick, during this time, they're taking all of your nutrients, your vitality, and your energy, and they're taking this in exchange for their toxins and their poisons. Eventually, the host becomes too weak to defend itself, and bingo, the mission has been completed. And so once the host becomes too weak to defend itself, you're no longer any use for the narcissistic gang stalker. And so what do? Well, just like the tick, after the host is depleted, the tick comes up from the many burrows deep down in the skin. It looks at the fallen host. It licks its lips or its tentacles. It washes its hands, and then guess what it does? It moves on to the next supply or the next host. So when they're all done with you and they've used you up, they will lick their lips, wash their hands, and move on to the next supply.